we've said some cursed things on Friends of the Force, but I think, being here is a really humbling experience to be like, wow, there are some podcasts out there who are saying even more cursed things, and we're in good company. We're in good company here.
You're listening to Children of the Watch. I'm Mac Lacey.
And I'm Alex Maxwell, and today we are continuing with the Mandalorian rewatch with the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange Land, and Chapter 2, The Tribes of Tatooine. If you're new to our podcast, we break down every single episode of Star Wars television, scene by scene, to analyze the story, find comb for Easter eggs, and explain how it all connects to the larger Star Wars universe. And we are doing this rewatch as we look forward to The Mandalorian and Grogu premiering this year.
It's the first time we're able to say this year because we are in 2026.
Yeah, it's awesome. And today we're joined by special guests Sarah and Brad from Friends of the Force. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hello there, 2026.
Hello.
Oh my God,
General
it's so
Kenobi.
weird. You saying that we are getting a Star Wars movie this year. It's happening. No creative differences. No script changes.
Yeah.
It is almost locked, loaded, and ready.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
We've got a logo and a trailer.
Yeah. And
a marquee at my local theater.
I think the movie may actually come out, guys.
Yeah.
I think it's
looking good.
Yeah.
It's looking good. So Sarah and Brad, I met you guys at Lucasfilm, which is a wonderful place to meet someone.
It's certainly.
And you guys are just awesome. Just a great time. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast and where people can find you and what you guys are kind of all about before we jump into these two episodes?
Sure, Sarah. Why don't you give us the intro here? You do.
Wow.
You do the great. Like
putting me on the spot. No. So Brad started this podcast back in 2019, and it was a way for I'm talking about you, Brad. A way for him to kind of connect with the Star Wars community, and especially as Rise of Skywalker was coming out, and our excitement that year was just at the ultimate heights. And so Brad and I met at Star Wars Celebration in 2019. He started the podcast solo. I kind of came on and started co-hosting Resistance recaps. And then we talked about, I was just listening to our Book of Boba Fett first recap. And that was the first time we had talked about live action Star Wars. And so I thought that was really interesting recently because that was 2022, like 2021, 2022. I didn't realize how long ago this show came out. Yeah. And so we talk a lot about the High Republic. We went through the whole series together and covered every single one of those books. We talk a lot about books. We are all about finding joy in fandom. Talk about live action, animation, a little bit of everything. But yeah, we focus on the things that we really enjoy and love, and hopefully have thoughtful conversations about them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. We are so glad to have y'all on today. Everybody go check out Friends of the Force. And the occasion that we do have you on for is we're starting the Book of Boba Fett in our rewatch. You might notice we're changing up the format just a little bit. Yeah. We're going to actually be covering 2 episodes of the TV show in this one episode of our podcast. And we'll do that a few times in the Book of Boba Fett. But today we're starting it off with Chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange Land, and then we'll follow that up with Chapter 2.
Yeah, so the director, of course, is Robert Rodriguez, who's also one of the showrunners for the Book of Boba Fett. He, of course, directed Boba Fett's episode in season 2 of The Mandalorian, kind of carries over into this. And the writer is, of course, Jon Favreau. And this premiered December 29th, 2021, right at the tail end of 2021. Really, this is a 2022 show.
Yeah.
But yeah, this first episode premiered by itself at the end of the year in 2021. Now, I will say, I think the model that they're doing now, where they kind of premiere 2 episodes at a time, the Book of Boba Fett could have really benefited from premiering both of these episodes at the same time, because as I do like this first chapter, but the meat of what the show could be is really in episode 2, and like I feel like on episode 2, it's just like this is really displaying what the show could be. I'm saying could be because it's not always that. And we can kind of talk about that a little bit of like, okay, like there's some tonal differences, maybe not tonal is not the right word, but maybe some
like a focus, like a different focus.
Yeah, focus.
I think this is going to be more about, and we'll talk like, there's a lot of flashbacks in these first episodes that we never really circle back to.
Yep.
But a lot of those flashbacks, I was like, oh, we're diving into the psyche of Boba Fett and sort of what he's going through as he is a stranger in a strange land, sort of nauseated, dazed and confused, coming out of the Sarlacc. He's lost his way.
Right. Yeah. And that's a really good way to put it, is like the focus of the show. And it's almost like they don't clash, especially after these first 4 episodes. Like it shifts into the Mandalorian season 2.5, right? Like that's kind of what it becomes. Now, I will say there's some things that happen in these first 2 episodes that I think are going to impact the Mandalorian and Grogu in a big way, specifically when we get to the twins. I mean, they're on the poster for the movie. So like they're introduced within this show. So I'm really glad we are doing this show and talking about it, because we do get the introductions to, I don't know if they'll be villains or not, but I'm imagining that they will be in the movie. So I'm excited to talk about them and maybe what some of their motivation could be, not only here, but within the movie. So let's jump into the episode. We kind of open up on Jabba's palace and we see that the hallways are empty. It's not what it was in Return of the Jedi, right? Like Return of the Jedi, there's a whole menagerie of aliens and cadre of people inside, but
it's
not
like an
now.
actual court, like a court of nobility with all these people trying to, kind of cling, get a little bit of the scraps from Jabba's table and maybe, raise their station slightly just by proximity. And this is a very different
Nobody's
palace.
there. Nobody's there at all. Yeah, no one even sits on the throne, which is like, I get, why nobody's there. And then we close in on a Bacta tank in the personal quarters inside the palace. And we see that Boba Fett is inside this Bacta tank. Now, this is going to be kind of like a vessel for us for our flashbacks. And we start to get those flashbacks. We see Camino immediately. We see Jango taking off in his ship. We see that. And then we flash to Geonosis in the arena and we see Boba holding Jango's helmet. And, that they recreated that scene. And I feel like they did a pretty good job recreating that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that they, get us back into Attack of the Clones pretty much right away. Not only just for the general audience who may not have all of those connections, as solidified in their heads as we do. But, also it's great for us too, to just remind us of some of, Boba's central core conflicts of his character.
I totally agree. I think it really, like, as somebody who isn't as attached to Boba Fett, but loves the prequels, this was a really good way to bring me in and make me go, okay, we are seated in this part of the universe, and this part of the story of Attack of the Clones is really important to Boba Fett, obviously, but to show that visually, I think was a good way to tie all these parts of the universe together and make the prequels very present in the post Return of the Jedi era that we're in.
Yeah.
100%. I also really love the Bacta tank as a vessel. I like that. I like the word you used there, Alex, as like a vessel to do these flashbacks. And I think is a strength of these first 2 episodes where we're getting the blending of past and present, and like, hey, he's injured, he's got to go back in the Bacta tank, and then when he's in there, he's dealing with his demons. And I just really loved that back and forth, and I think it was really well balanced. But yeah, I think certainly seeing a young Daniel Logan, and I feel like that was speculated for quite some time. Are we going to see Daniel Logan pop up in this series? And it ended up not being that deep of a series in terms of like those kinds of cameos. But even just getting this short glimpse of the Geonosian battle arena and the Jango Fett helmet, which I know Sarah says she's not as attached to Boba Fett. I'm a huge Boba Fett stan. He's like my favorite character growing up as a young kid. Just the mask and the outfit. And I was just like, he's so mysterious. Like the mystique worked for me as a 5-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy. And Jango Fett's even cooler with the blue. That's my favorite color. So
I feel like we're all around the same age. Like Jango Fett for me is like my Boba Fett, like for the past generation, right? Like just Jango Fett's so cool. But I did want to ask you, Brad, like since Boba Fett's one of your favorite characters and you're talking about the mystique, I guess is maybe a good spot to ask you of like, do you feel like the mystique is kind of gone because of this show with Boba Fett? Like, because one of the things that I kind of noticed on this rewatch is like, man, they really have his helmet off a lot. Like Tamara Morrison is really acting and like we're getting to see him, and which is awesome. I love that because he's great and that's really cool. But it's almost like what we wish Din was, Boba is, and what we wish Boba was, Din is. It's like, you know what I mean? It's almost like they switch personalities or like not. I guess Din never had that personality, but like what we kind of wish Din was, taking his helmet off. We're seeing Pedro all the time acting. We're seeing that in the Book of Boba Fett with Boba.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I feel like that was also a big talking point when the show was out. For me, I feel like we had so many years of that mystique without seeing Boba. And you could make the same argument for the prequels of like, hey, is the mystique gone because now we see him as a little boy going, yep. To Tonwei, but I feel like the mystique is still there, and yeah, I'm totally agreement. I would love to have seen more Pedro Pascal's face in the Mandalorian, but I think what the show does effectively is it humanizes Boba Fett, and because that helmet is off, I think it could maybe take somebody like Sarah and bring her a little closer into Boba Fett's proximity to say, hey, now I have a face to the name, right? Like we have 20 to 30 years of mystique, but like what is under the mask? And that's one of the first things that happens when he comes out of the Sarlacc is the Jawas take his helmet off. Not to get too far ahead, but it's literally the first episode. We are unmasking, we're peeling back those layers of this character to say like, who is he when he doesn't have the mask? Who is he when he doesn't have the armor? And that's the point initially of the show.
Right. I love that. I love that. So, okay, let's get into the Sarlacc because that's where our next flashback takes us. So we're inside the Sarlacc pit. We actually get to see all the gross tentacles inside and just how claustrophobic it feels. Boba Fett's still alive. He's trapped. His armor is damaged. His breathing is failing. He can't really breathe. He's running out of oxygen. And then we see one of the stormtroopers trapped inside.
He's like buddy breathing with him. If anybody scuba dives, if something goes wrong with your tank, like usually you have like a little buddy hose on whoever you're diving with, and you go and grab that one. It's kind of what he's doing here.
So he gets some air. He uses his flamethrower to burn through the creature's flesh, and then he climbs.
When in doubt, flamethrower it out.
You got to.
Din and Boba both have that just go-to strategy.
Yeah, I think it's a Mandalorian thing, you know. It's last
fire.
resort. Yeah, fire.
And it's not just fight fire with fire. It's fight everything with fire.
Exactly.
Literally everything.
And then he climbs through the sand. You see his hand pop out. I love that scene when he's crawling out because the music is really, really good. I love Boba Fett's theme that is established throughout these two episodes. It's just really, really good. I love the music. Of course, Ludwig did the theme, but then Joseph Shirley kind of played with it throughout these two episodes. But I love the music for this show.
It's so good. And when I was doing my rewatch, I was like, oh, I forgot how good it is.
It is
and
really
then not to jump too far, but the credits hit, and then I was doing the dum like the whole. I would listen to the whole thing.
Yes, it's so good.
I think
I gotta
the
say
music.
too.
Oh, go ahead, Brad.
Oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Max. Sorry, no, you're good.
You got it. You're the guest. Go ahead.
I was gonna say too. I'm a big Lost and Breaking Bad fan, so like the art of the cold open is something I always appreciate. And this episode just has such a good cold open. We really keep dragging out when we're going to see the title card of the Book of Boba Fett, and just again, like every little sequence here is so great. This
it's so good
scene, and the first person point of view when he's looking at the sun
through the T visor. Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah. It is really, really good. And he collapses after escaping. And then we cut to night and we see then after the title credits, Jawas find Boba unconscious in the desert and they just immediately start stripping his Beskar armor piece by piece while he's just kind of like taking it. He's kind of drowsy. He doesn't know what's going on. And boy, he looks bad. He is not doing well. That Sarlacc acid has really messed him up a little bit. And he briefly he wakes up, tries to stop them, fails, and the Jawas knock him out and flee, and he's left exposed. He's near death. And like you were saying earlier, Brad, like we're really unmasking who Boba Fett is, like, because one of the things I've always wanted to see with Din, especially since in the Children of the Watch, the armor is everything. Like you cannot expose your face. You cannot expose who you are. I really want to see at some point with the character of Din, someone take his armor away. What happens then? Like, what is a Mandalorian? Who are you without your armor? And so we get to explore that with Boba Fett, like you were saying. And this is a really cool way to do it of like, okay, they take his armor and he's just left for dead. Who is he now without that? And then, of course, we see the Tusken Raiders eventually come and find Boba. They bind him and then they just drag him behind a bantha across the desert. And like, he's got all the sand on him. I mean, he looks dead. He looks like a dead person.
It's both a bad day for Boba Fett and a good day for Boba Fett because he's alive.
Yeah.
But a bad day for Boba Fett in every other
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah. He may be being drugged towards like a renewed sense of purpose, but that hasn't happened yet. Like he doesn't know that. He just feels all the bumps of the ride right now.
Right. And so we also see when he's taken to the Tusken Raider camp, we see that there's a Rodian there that's also taken captive. I believe Sam Witwer does the voice for the Rodian, if I'm remembering correctly, which
that's
of course
sounds about right.
Yeah.
I also believe that's Greedo's son. According
What?
to
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Really?
I'm just kidding. I'm just
I'm
just shitposting.
I was about to get right in there with you and be like, "Oh, really? Let's talk about it. How do we know this? What art book was that bit of information from?"
Sins
That
of the
is-
father
it's a
passed to the
shitpost for a
son.
minute.
Yeah.
It is too early for you to be telling straight up lies.
Everything's connected in Star Wars now. Come on.
man.
Everybody's son or daughter or stepson.
You know what? I would not be surprised.
It's
if that's
Greedo's
the-
cousin. Like,
Yeah.
get it right.
Yeah.
His cousin Bob.
cousin Bob.
His cousin Speedo.
Speedo. Yeah. So we see that. We see a massive, which is the Tatooine dogs that we saw from the prequels in Attack of the Clones, which are fun being back. And like he's trying to talk to the Rodian and say like, "Hey, listen, we can work together to get out of here." And the Rodian just totally snitches on him right away, which is like, what's going on? Dude, what are you doing? And then we're introduced to the child character of the Tusken who beats him up a little bit, kind of sets him back in his place. And I also believe that this child, Tusken, is played by Jimmy Kimmel's nephew, who also plays Ragnar Vizsla in season 3 of The Mandalorian. That one is not a lie. So.
Real fact.
Actual information.
Yeah. So yeah, we find him literally at his lowest. Like he doesn't have his armor. He's treated like a prisoner. He's treated a lot like probably he's treated people in the past. And so we're seeing him brought down pretty low. And you know, like I'm imagining too, this is not the first time he's ever had interactions with the Tuskens. And he probably doesn't respect Tusken culture yet, right? Like he probably sees the Tuskens like everybody else on Tatooine sees them, which is like sub creatures, subpar,
like kind of a nuisance at best.
Yeah. So then we head back to the present. Fennec wakes him up and Boba announces that his dreams are back and then dresses himself in his armor, his new kind of look that he has with the black underneath, which is a way better look in my opinion. I think this looks really good on him.
I kind of like it with the robes sticking out in The Mandalorian.
a little
season
more
2.
robes.
Like where it's a little more frontier looking. This is a little cleaned up. I kind of liked the rough around the edges look.
Yeah. We'll get to it at the end of chapter 2, but I really, when he's like dressed semi as a Tusken a little bit, I love that look a lot. Of like, almost like you should just go with that look and give Cobb Vanth your armor and just like call it a day. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that look, and I love what that. Well, I mean, we'll get there, but I love what it represents in that episode as well.
Yeah, that episode's so fun.
Remind me, is this the same armor from Cobb Vanth? Because I'm trying to trace back in Mando season 2. Mando took the armor from Cobb, and then Boba went on to Mando's ship during that one episode in season
on Tython.
2.
Yeah,
And then he's really cleaned it up.
Yeah.
That stuff was pretty worn down.
Yes.
I'm wondering what his, like, not his skincare routine, but like what's his armor care?
Yeah,
routine?
because there were so many pox in the armor too. Of like now it's just kind of fresh and smooth.
He must have had it like refinished and repainted and all of that.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see where that happens and who helps him with it, though.
Maybe like on his ship, he's got like, like when you go to the car wash and you run your mats through the machine thing. He's got something like that on the ship. Something.
Listen, I'm a fan of the slow burn. I could have had a whole episode where like it's Boba Fett finding cleaning supplies. He's like, damn, I'm out of that thing. And then he's got to go on a mission for some random side character NPC to get the cleaning supply. And then he spends like 20 minutes just cleaning.
Frog Lady has it.
Yeah,
sure.
Like I could have taken that as a whole episode.
Yeah, of course.
I love that stuff.
We do too. So he puts his armor on. He's looking really regal, and of course he goes and he sits on Jabba's former throne. And Fennec Shan acts as his chief enforcer and advisor, and Boba insists on ruling with respect instead of fear. He really emphasizes that part of what he wants to do with how he's going to run Tatooine and run the Daimyo, and basically be like, hey, I'm going to be an honorable crime lord. That's what I'm going to be, which is like...
Maybe there is honor among thieves.
Cool. And so we start to get local dignitaries arrive to pay tribute. We see some... what I really love that this show does is they kind of give us a lot of aliens in this show, which is really fun. We see Trandoshans a lot in this show, and one of them that comes in, Boba's like, I used to work for this guy. That's kind of awkward. And like he's saying these like little quips of like, that do totally humanize him, of like, oh yeah, I would say something like that too, of like, oh, my former boss is now working for me and paying me tribute. That's weird and awkward. And then the mayor of Mos Espa, Mok Shaiz, his major domo arrives, and he starts to refuse. I mean, subtly in a very kind of roundabout way, refuse to pay tribute to him. Of like, we're not really going to do this. We don't acknowledge you as the leader of what's going on.
Not only are they refusing to pay, they're also demanding tribute from Boba.
Right.
I think it's a big coup. I think they're kind of taking this transitional period, like the transition of power, trying to kind of strike a new bargain for themselves from the municipal side of things, kind of reestablish the order on Tatooine of like, maybe the actual government can have a little more power and stuff like that, rather than just being, subject to the crime lords.
It's an interesting strategy though, because I mean, I love this. I love the Major Domo because he's just giving a performance, and I live for it. Especially since so many of our characters in the show are very stoic sort of characters, and very serious sort of characters. Characters like him and Garsa Fwip, like you get some like energy from them that I really enjoy. But if you were going to create a new order, create a new bargain, I feel like it might be advantageous for the mayor to come and speak to him in person and be like, so, hey, actually, here's the law. I get you. I see you. I see that you're sitting, but like, I'm not as here for that. And obviously him not showing up causes some conflict for them very shortly.
Yeah. I think this aspect of the show is one thing that I desperately wanted from more of from all of it, is just like the actual nitty gritty of the underworld on Tatooine and how the families vie against each other, and like, you know, what challenges like is Boba Fett stepping into taking this role. And I think I didn't get as much examination of like the actual logistics of all of that. But this scene is a great way to see how there's all these moving parts in how the system works on Tatooine. Just wish we got a little more explanation of that.
And I imagine too that the mayor maybe was controlling Bib Fortuna. Like I kind of imagine Bib Fortuna, like, let's let him think that he's in charge, but we're really calling the shots now. And so maybe it's that initial power struggle of like, okay, you took out Bib Fortuna, who's just kind of a puppet for us. We're going to need you to be that puppet too. Because I just don't see Bib Fortuna being like someone who's actually in charge, right?
I could see a lot of people around. I guess I can see a lot of people in his orbit not necessarily respecting him because he was previously under Jabba.
That's a good point.
As opposed to,
that's a really good point.
You know, a peer of Jabba or in his orbit. Otherwise, he's like very, like if the Major Domo became the mayor, you know, like right now we'd be like, well, look at this guy, and not really respect him in the same way. So yeah,
no, like, did he earn that spot, or you know, do people feel like there wasn't a fair, you know, I don't want to say like fair election, because is there really a fair election on Tatooine? We have
of a crime lord.
With your crime lord.
Yeah, but like maybe to your point, like maybe the crime lords wanted to install somebody different, and so maybe they had beef on Bib and kind of dangled that in front of him to say like, you do our bidding, and now they're trying to pay these visits to Boba to see like, are there any gaps in the armor where we can maybe find some dirt on him and hold that against him, which could have been an angle. But I agree with you, Mac. I would have loved to have seen more of that fleshed out a little bit.
Listen, I'm still down for a season 2 of this show.
Yes.
Where we explore stuff like that. And then we do get Daniel Logan as a younger Boba Fett in flashbacks and stuff. Let's do it. Let's do season 2. So yeah, then we cut to later Boba Fett and Fennec walking through the streets. This is kind of where he's talking about like how he really wants to rule and what his agenda is with this. And then we arrive at Garsa Fwip's place, which is called the Sanctuary, sort of a Casablanca type feel here that I really enjoy. She's awesome. Like her performance, her look, everything about what's going on in the Sanctuary is like, I could do a whole show here. Like whatever's going on here, I'm about this. This is really cool.
Yes, she's incredible. In the moment she like showed up on screen, I was like, oh my God, the love of my life is back. I can't believe she's here again. And then I remembered what happens to her, and I was like, oh no.
I know,
I can't believe I'm getting attached again. Like I think this corner of the world, it feels so like lived in Mos Espa. I feel like we're getting a real sense of the variety of people and culture that's happening on Tatooine. Just from this one place that we visit. And I find the space really dynamic. Again, in a show where we're having a lot of very, for lack of a better word, like vacant space, or we're out in the desert. This is something that is totally juxtaposed to that.
Yeah, it's almost like everybody from Jabba's palace went to the Sanctuary.
Yeah, they're all Jabba's palace is kind of remote, and Sanctuary is like in town. And we can hang out. And like the lady that runs this place is nice. Yeah, commute is so much easier. The lady that runs this place is nice.
She's great. Yeah,
the vibes of the establishment are good. So
this is one of my favorite like cantinas in Star Wars, if you will, because it's simultaneously, it still feels working class. Like it doesn't have that Canto Bite air of like, this is only for the very elite. Like there's just some normal people in here, but it's still a place of like luxury and decadence and stuff like that. You don't get to see that a lot, like that mixture in Star Wars. So it's just a really unique environment.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So she's there to kind of like, okay, I'm acknowledging you. She does pay tribute. They take the helmet to like clean the helmets or whatever. And then when they bring it back, it's full of New Republic coins. Don't love the look of the New Republic coins, to be honest with you. It's not my favorite. honestly, from here until the end of this sequence is not my favorite thing in the Book of Boba Fett. It was odd. And I'm wondering just like, I'm playing Monday morning quarterbacking here of like, if they were a little limited in some of the things that maybe they wanted to do because of COVID, and like when they were filming this, because they had to have filmed this in 2020, if this came out in 2021, right?
In late 2021, so I would say probably 2020
Maybe,
into 2021,
yeah.
maybe, depending on the turnaround time.
Right.
Yeah.
They definitely COVID, early COVID, different time in terms of, productions and scale.
Yeah.
You're muted, Brad.
I am muted. I was saying too, like, because there is the epilogue too at the end of the credits in season 2 of Mando, so they might have even filmed some of this stuff at the tail end of 2019.
That's true.
Into 2020.
That's true.
So
it's just, I don't know. So when they leave this place and they're surrounded by the shield wielding assassins, one of the biggest criticisms of this particular scene is like, Boba, you have a jetpack. Like there's no reason for you to be stuck fighting. You just go up. You know what I mean? Like, but I love Star Wars, and I'm going to find an explanation for this. Is he didn't want to leave Fennec by herself, trapped in that shield wall, and so he decides to stay. You know what? I'm going to beat these guys myself, and that's why he doesn't use his jetpack.
I like that.
I think also he's in a somewhat vulnerable position because he's already got his helmet off.
Yep.
So maybe jetpacking is not as safe when you don't have
for sure not. Yeah.
And
you don't have maybe the supplemental oxygen or whatever you got the climate control in the helmet.
Maybe you control it with the helmet.
But I mean, he could have like, how in Spider-Man goes and he picks up whoever and then they're flying together. I mean, he could have done that with Fennec. But he also he's still healing in the back to tank.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things here. But I agree with you. He's literally wearing the jetpack.
Yeah.
There were other options here other than getting his butt kicked.
The healing thing, the fact that he's still healing up and kind of he's not at his physical best, that goes a long way to explain it for me anyway. Especially because like after this scene, he has to basically be like carted off to his back.
Yes, he does.
Right.
So I think that's probably a big part of it.
I really wish to, and again, this is Monday morning quarterbacking. I wish, and they could still explore this if they do a season 2, which I would love, that maybe he's aging rapidly. Like the cloning age thing there's something off with it. And like he's starting to age a little more rapidly than he should, because he is older than what he should be.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? That would be a cool kind of in-universe way to explain it, of like, there's something wrong cloning wise with him that would have gone all the way back to the prequels, and like maybe the back to tank helps stop that a little bit too. That would be kind of
he's
cool.
he's hitting his 30s technically, so
Yeah.
I relate. Bad knee, you wake up, something hurts, you're like, that's new.
Yeah,
For sure.
throwing
Why
out
does that
your
hurt?
back by sleeping is it's been the best new development physically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reach up to pull a mug off the shelf, you're like, ooh, ow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alex,
Just
I'm
can't
going to
use a
take
jetpack.
your explanation as canon, though. I actually find that explanation really interesting, so
it's
I'll
fun.
take it.
Yeah.
Canon in my book.
Yeah. There's something going on with the cloning and the aging there. All right. So yeah, Boba's armor absorbs multiple hits. Fennec kills several attackers. Boba kills others with brute force. This is where we get to see a little bit of what we saw in The Mandalorian when he was fighting. Like he just is absolutely like vaporizing people, which is kind of what he's known for. And then one of the assassins escapes via rooftop parkour. They do the whole parkour scene. And we eventually see Fennec capture him. I do love that whole sequence. I think that's really cool. I don't know. We haven't talked about this either, but Mos Espa looks really cool, especially like down in the bowl of Mos Espa, which we've never seen before. All of that is great. And I love a good rooftop chase scene.
Yeah. They really returned to physical sets for this show after relying so much on the volume for The Mandalorian. I think at the time, this set, that like the rooftop thing that they do the chase scene, I think it was the biggest like physical set Star Wars had created at that point.
Wow.
I think that was the reports. So like, I love the physical aspect of it, and it really goes a long way to make it feel, lived in, populated with its own history and that kind of thing. And this, I mean, they're really swinging around all these corners and jumping rooftops and stuff.
And Fennec is so cool, dude. Like, she's just the best.
Ming-Na Wen is just
on.
incredible. It's a treat to get to watch her in, like, I think if there's one thing that the Book of Boba Fett gives us, it's more Fennec Shand that we get to watch. There's tons that I like from the show, but
listen,
you get what
if
I'm
I
saying.
see Mando and Grogu and there's not a, Fennec Shand will return at Avengers Doomsday thing at the very end of the credits, I will riot. Where is she? Pay her. Pay Ming-Na. Come on.
Both of them could be in the movie, and if there's a criminal underworld element that we're imagining is with the movie, I could see both of them in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just, been hush hush. So that would be really cool.
I think that would be a really exciting possibility, because in a season 2, like, the one thing I would really want more of, other than kind of just the story framing that we get across these 2 episodes, is Ming-Na Wen as Fennec. Like, I think she's amazing. She's also underutilized.
Yep.
And I would love to see more from her, because she is so cool.
Yeah.
And I think this whole chase scene gives us a really great glimpse, or a great reminder of how badass and awesome she is as a character. Instead of just being told she's a master assassin, we just kind of see some of her skills, which I love.
Yeah.
And that's one of my qualms with this whole series in general, as well as, like, we spend so much real estate on the Mando and the Grogu pieces of this in season 1 of Book of Boba Fett, when we could flesh out Ming-Na's, which I think we do in later episodes, not to get too far ahead, but like, I think we get like the mod shop and we kind of learn a little bit more of her backstory, and like, that was some really good stuff. I think that's episodes 3 and 4 potentially.
Yeah.
And so like, we were kind of going in that direction to say like, hey, she's not just Boba's right hand and is just there to be an order taker. Like, she has her own life, her own experiences, her own thoughts and motivations, and like, getting to see that fleshed out more would be really interesting. And we see her pop up in the Bad Batch too. We've gotten a lot of Fennec Shand, so
her whole look is cool.
There.
Her ship is awesome in the Bad Batch. I'm like,
she's got a Lego.
Yeah,
her ship
she's
has
so
a Lego.
cool.
Yeah. She's the real deal.
She is the real deal, and I would love more of her. And I kind of hope that she is in the movie. Yeah, that would be really, really cool. So. Okay, so Fennec captures him. Then we're back to the past. Boba is forced to march through the desert with the Tuskens. They witness, so he's kind of witnessing how the Tuskens operate and their rituals and what their life is like. But then he's taken by the child with the Rodian, and they come upon one of the moisture farms, and they see Nikto raiders raiding this farm. And you notice that Boba does not like this. Like, there's something within Boba that he's like, that's not cool. So it's kind of establishing like his character, like, okay, like, there is honor to him. He does not like people. He doesn't like bullies. He doesn't like people who are taking advantage of people who can't defend themselves. And like, there's part of him that I feel like he wants to intervene, but he can't. But then we see the Niktos, and this will be really important for later in the series, mark their, I believe they're called the Kenton Striders. Their kind of logo on the homestead there.
Yeah, it's like Zorro marking something with a Z almost.
Yeah. Then we kind of we're heading towards the end of the episode. While gathering the water, a 6-limbed sand creature attacks. And this creature is straight out of Clash of the Titans, the 1980s version. And it's so funny. Jon Favreau loves Star Wars monsters. That he loves Star Wars monsters. I mean, we see that even in the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer, especially the newest version of that. Of like, the guy can't get enough of them, and this is a cool monster.
And ripped monsters too. We know we're getting ripped stinky in the Mando and Grogu movie.
I'm deeply unsettled.
This 6-armed creature here is also ripped. He was shredded.
I'm with you, Sarah.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite.
It's the head. Like the head does not match the ripped body.
No. It is, as I said, I went back and listened to our podcast, and I will repeat what I said in 2022. Legs for arms and arms for legs. No.
Yeah.
No.
Listen, Sarah, don't be out here shaming the Hutts. Like that, if they wanna get ripped, they want to change their exercise routine to get ripped.
I support their health journey. And I support whatever they want to do. I just don't like this sand beast that has legs for arms and arms for legs.
Yeah.
I think you're being a
That's
little
so fair.
slug-phobic here, Sarah.
Oh God.
A little bit slug-phobic against the Hutts.
This is why I can't cover Mandalorian and Grogu with you. This is why. Because you're gonna do this to me for 3 hours.
Yeah, because Rada, I agree with Brad. Like, it's good that they're getting in shape. Like,
I love that.
It's good for
their
anyone
2026 journey
to want to better themselves in whichever way they want to do that in.
No, but yeah, this creature is unsettling.
Terrifying.
It's also too, like, before we had gotten the crate dragon in season 2 of The Mandalorian, if you had told me this is a crate dragon, I'd been like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Crate troll, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, he ends up the monster ends up killing the Rodian, attacking the child and the Massif and Boba, and Boba ends up fighting the monster hand to hand. He slays it with this chain, and it's almost kind of a mythic, heroic version of Boba that we've never seen before, of like, this is almost like a Greek myth come to life. And I think that's kind of what we're supposed to take away from this scene of like, Boba has slayed the monster, and this is like one of the labors of Boba, almost, it feels like.
And in his weekend state, he is just in, the bare bones jumpsuit. He's not the figure of having his armor on. He isn't the mythic figure in that sense. And so to create Boba the person who has now slain this beast, as opposed to Boba the bounty hunter, I think is also a really important a way for the Tuskens to establish kind of who he is and what he's about, more than just being a prisoner. There's something to this guy.
Yeah, he almost takes on this messiah-ic role in a way where the Tuskens have put him through every sort of trial and tribulation, like dragging him through the desert. I'm sure that would kill 99% of people. They do that too.
Yep.
And then throwing him out, saying, hey, he'll probably get eaten by one of those creatures, just like the Rodian does, right? But along the way, he just continues to prove them wrong. And it's almost like getting to the point where at the end of this episode, and they give him the little cup of water, they're recognizing his strength and spirit and being like, this is somebody like kind of special. Like, not that we're necessarily like worshiping and bowing at his feet, but like,
you've earned our respect for sure.
This really is a stranger in a strange land.
Yes.
Like, this is a guy that we've not encountered ever.
Yeah. And so like when they do come back, I love that the child is running with the head, the chopped off head, and like almost as if like he's giving credit to the child. And that's a really cool thing too, is like Boba kind of lets the child take credit. I feel like with the other Tuskens of like the kid did this, but the dad, I'm assuming this is the dad of the child, the Tusken chieftain, knows what actually happened, and that's when he offers him the water. And so we see that clear shift from prisoner to accepted outsider. And, I think we establish, even though it's not said within the text, I think it's kind of said within the subtext of this first episode is, okay, what's the motivation behind Boba becoming a Daimyo? What is the motivation for everything that's going on in the present day? I think it's about legacy. I think it's about, it's establishing. He wants to reestablish a community, and all he knows is the underworld, but he wants to reestablish a community that he never really had growing up. So if you like watch the Clone Wars and everything that he went through, and how he was raised among bounty hunters and how everyone kind of betrayed him throughout the way, he never really had that, what the Tuskens had. And I think he's trying to recreate that within the criminal underworld and within his Daimyo a little bit. It's never said that. They never say that within the show. But if I'm reading into the subtext of like, why is he doing whatever he's doing? I think number one, he's trying to establish a legacy for himself and maybe prove something to Jango. And then number two is he wants to create that kind of familial bond that he had with the Tuskens within the criminal underworld with Finnick and all of that. Am I stretching that a little too much?
No, I think you're spot on. I don't really have anything to add. Again, Boba's motivations and the exploration of those is another criticism I have of the show. I just don't think it's ever really set in stone and established what's driving him. Like we have evidence.
Yeah,
in the present day. We have evidence based on what he's been through and the things he's saying to people and the ways he's acting differently than different daimyos and stuff like that. We have evidence, but it's never, there's not one real sit down conversation that like is, this is why I'm doing all of this because this happened in the past and all that. And like, again, as the audience, like, I don't think the storytellers have to hold our hands in all of that. It's fine to let us draw conclusions and stuff. I just wish there was a little more creative, like connective material to use in drawing our own conclusions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like a broken record here where I feel like we don't use a lot of runway in many of these TV shows. Like Andor is the one exception where we're getting like 45, 50-minute episodes where, to your point, Mac, the conversations aren't saying, I'm Cassian Andor and I feel this way because X, Y, Z.
Right.
It's the interactions with characters and how those interactions change throughout the series that we can infer where Cassian is in his journey. But like you said, like we never even just get the simple sit down conversations with Boba where he's just having a conversation that's not expositional to help inform how he's feeling or thinking. And I feel like we could do a better job of that in Star Wars TV in general, to not say like, hey, let's just have a 35-minute episode of action when like we could maybe add like another 15 minutes of just conversation to better inform these characters. So hopefully something to learn if Star Wars continues doing TV.
Right. Yeah.
Which I'm not positive of at this point, except for Ahsoka season 2. But we'll see.
It's like, I think that it suffers just a tiny bit from the level of mystique that this character has had over the years, considering we just don't get a lot of who he is in the original trilogy. We kind of just get him as a guy, and he's cool and we like him. And we can definitely do a little bit of the work and say, I think it's very easy to suggest, like, his life has been chaos. His dad was killed, in front of him, and it was a terrible tragedy for him. And then he had to go into this work. And there's some books that I think include young Boba Fett or younger Boba Fett, but I can't remember which book. So I apologize to writers in general. We get a little bit of him at some point, and then we get these flashbacks that tell us a little bit about where he's at. But there's, I think, a slight missing link of the chaos and order as an adult that that we're not getting. But I think that that's like a clear line that we can draw for this character, which is interesting. It definitely juxtaposes it. It definitely takes a different angle than what we have got from what we know of Tatooine and Jabba's palace and all that jazz, from all the story that's come before. So even if we don't have the specific connective tissue as to why he's doing this now, there is a sense of, well, it's refreshing. This is something different, a new angle to explore in this corner of the universe, which is valuable regardless, I guess.
Absolutely. And I think, so as we get to chapter 2, the Tribes of Tatooine, and we'll kind of turn this a little more conversational than beat by beat. One of the things that I love about this particular episode is, like, if you want to say that the flashbacks are the B storyline, I find the B storyline more fascinating than the A storyline. Right? Yeah. Like the present day storyline doesn't capture me as much. And I think that's probably the issue that I run into with the show sometimes is like, I kind of want to spend all of the time with the Tuskens because I find that super fascinating. Because, Tuskens are some of the very first things that we see in Star Wars. So it's really kind of cool to explore them through the lens of Boba Fett and understand who they are, especially as we get into the end of this episode and the building of the Gaffi stick and the ritual that they have at the end. It's just all super fascinating. And I feel like this particular episode makes me see Boba Fett in a new way that I had never seen before. And that's one of the triumphs of this show is this particular episode. So let's get into it. The writer is Jon Favreau. The director is Steph Green. Incredible job on this episode. She was nominated for an Academy Award in 2009 for her short film, New Boy. She directed an episode of HBO's The Watchmen, which is great. I love that show. Luke Cage, The Americans. This premiered January 5th, 2022. Okay, so let's get into this. And again, let's transition this a little more conversational. What are some of the highlights for you guys, Sarah and Brad, for this particular episode? What really stood out to you from this episode?
I have to go back just a little bit because I remember us sitting around the table, Alex, and you being like, all right, we're doing this big rewatch project.
Yeah.
Pick an episode. And I was like, let's go. Book of Boba Fett, episode 2, immediately in my mind.
You were like the first one to say anything. Like, I want that one.
Was so ready because the reality is I'm not actually a huge Mandalorian fan. And so I was like, this is one of those pieces of this whole story that I'm like, I love it so much because I think that this episode and what it shows us about the Tuskens and how it treats them as an element of the Star Wars universe and as like a people, and what it also tells us about Boba Fett in the process is really excellent work and is also what I really wanted the whole show to be. So I think you saying that like these kind of episodes and the flashbacks and kind of him in this learning about himself is the most interesting part of all of this. And I truly agree. I remember watching this episode and just being so thrilled about the depth of this episode and what it meant, I think, for Star Wars has a very human-centered focus, whereas like, Star Trek kind of goes a bit, I feel like it has a human focus, but it treats its various like different species and different cultures gentler than Star Wars does, I feel like. And I think this did a lot of work to attempt to like level that playing field in how this franchise treats its like non-human characters. And so I just thought that this was just really great. I just am a big fan of this episode. And also this is the episode where Chrysanthemum pops up. Huge deal for me, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You love Chrysanthemum?
I love Chrysanthemum. I love the Wookiees. I have a Wookiee shrine right here. Here's all my
Love
Wookiees.
it.
Nice. If you're watching on YouTube, maybe you can see that.
Yes. Sorry to the audio listeners.
He's another character that I wonder if we'll see in the movie as well. Just because like there's a lot of gladiator things from the trailer. He's a gladiator. I don't know.
He's awesome.
He's
make
so
a return to the fighting pits.
All right, Brad, what do you think? What are your thoughts, initial thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, well, first off, long live Steph Green. Just I want to reinforce that.
Right.
This is one of those episodes where as soon as the credits rolled and it said directed by Steph Green, my first reaction was, I need her to direct more Star Wars immediately. Which she has. She's directed 2 episodes of Ahsoka. So Steph Green will no longer be a stranger in a strange land when it comes to Galaxy Far, Far Away.
Yep.
Also recommend Duster, which she directed.
Okay.
Good shit with Josh Holloway. But this series or this episode is really excellent. I think it's the pinnacle of this show, and I would also consider this probably in some of my top episodes of Star Wars live action television. One, just because of the train heist sequence. I think every time there's a train heist in Star Wars, like Solo included, I'm always glued to the screen. I think that's some of that stuff is just really thrilling and exciting and really on pace with the faster and more intense nature of this franchise, which is something George always loved to do, and I often feel like we are lacking Sometimes things can be a little too slow for my liking. Mos Espa speeders included. I love the look of the speeders, to be very clear. However, they are definitely going like 5 miles an hour in that episode.
Maybe.
Yeah. But they look great, and I will stand by that forever.
Yeah.
But I think this is just a really fast, intense, explosive sequence that really elevates the stakes. And I also think this episode really just solidifies Boba Fett, despite what you may have thought of him before, as this a mysterious character who will kill and who will take a bounty and doesn't have a moral compass. To me, this episode solidifies that's not actually him at all, and that's him finding out that's the case. He is somebody who, for lack of a better term, was abandoned as a kid. He lost his dad, he lost his way, and he's been living his life as a bounty hunter ever since then. And this whole experience with the Tuskens, who are a people who are misunderstood, and he finds that out, kind of awakens a new moral compass within him to say, like, I don't have to just kill, and I can do other things, like help this child who maybe I see myself in some sense, and I can help these people, and a lot of also like Maori influences within this episode as well, including the dance at the end. Like, there's just so many really brilliant things in this episode.
Yep.
And I think every time we have a psychedelic brain lizard sequence in a Star Wars, I'm always going to be.
I remember my first time doing that too.
Who amongst us doesn't remember our first brain lizard?
I think the brain lizard is so good. Also, watch Black in Star Wars Visions 3, please. For another psychedelic trip.
It was my favorite of Volume 3.
It's so good. But I want to touch on something that you just said, Brad, which was that like we see his moral compass and how he can really affect change here. And I think that there's a bit of a difference between what an alignment of what he says in episode 1. I want to rule with respect. I want, to treat people with civility. I want to walk through the streets as opposed to being carried. And what is happening here, which is a kind of a conflict of the position that he's in, right? Because he is helping the Tuskens and kind of, teaching them new tricks with the speeders and the train heist, but also doing that in attempt of preservation of their culture and their way of life. He's doing that by being proximate to and working directly alongside them. And his role as the daimyo puts him in a very broad sense. And so he wants to effectuate this positive change. He wants to create a new culture, but that is very difficult to do in a broad sense when you don't have everybody who respects you or thinks the same way. And so the way that he's actually able to create change is working directly with people. And I think that obviously causes him some problems throughout this series.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we see a little bit of that in chapter 3 when he goes to the Vespa gang and directly like negotiates them to, how about you work for me? Like, if there's no jobs, you come work for me. And so like that is totally something I think he's learned, as we see in these flashbacks. So let's do this. Let's focus on the flashbacks first, and then we'll talk about the present day storyline when we're finished with the flashbacks. One of the things that I really, really love, number one, is like there's an obvious homage to Lawrence of Arabia with this train sequence that we have. And he's noticing like, oh, wow, people do treat Tuskens like cattle here, like as if they're not people. And I think what we're seeing is Boba Fett is learning like they're absolutely people with a culture, and like they deserve dignity and respect, and they don't need to be treated like that. And I think it ticks him off of when he sees that train go by the very first time and they're just taking out banthas, and which is something that actually happened in the Wild West. Like buffalo, they would just shoot buffalo through outside the train.
It was like advertised as part of the train experience at times, like, yeah, you can come go sporting in the Great Wild West and all that. And meanwhile, it's devastating, the local like tribes who rely on the buffalo for sustenance. And
I don't see how you cannot see the direct parallels between like American West expansionism and what's happening here in the Book of Boba Fett, like with Native Americans and Tusken Raider. Like it's so obvious within this episode. And I really appreciate that direct parallel and seeing it like, okay, like maybe people who haven't really thought about it can see it through the lens of Star Wars and then like apply it. Honestly, it's kind of like what Andor did, I feel like, for a lot of people in terms of like just politics and stuff, of like exploring that avenue through fiction. Sometimes I think we can learn more about what we actually believe and confront that through fiction than sometimes maybe just actual conversations about it. You know what I mean? Like,
you're removing some of those real world like triggers, emotional hangups that can prevent people from thinking through things. And I'm not saying, I'm talking about anybody. What you believe affects what you're willing to engage with and things like that. And then abstracting it into a, fictional universe and stuff. The concepts, I think you can get to the truth of something even better through fiction than nonfiction a lot of the think
I love
that.
The beautiful power of story is the ability to work to empathize with experiences that are different than our own. And we should all be reading more, just like, in general. But I think that this is so clearly shown, this connection to our past here in the US, with just how out of place the train running on no track is in the desert of Tatooine, and how it's like, oh yeah, train cool. And I think I even wrote like, oh man, this train is really cool. Because it is like a cool piece of Star Wars. It's something different than what we've seen before. But when you put it in context of the space that we're seeing it in and how it affects the people that are already there, it is so drastically and dramatically out of place from what is there and how people are living. And that's reinforced when Boba brings the handful of speeder bikes over, and they start, going after the speeder bikes, and he's like, no, these are mine. Let me teach you. Because they might help us out. But even that is a change of their way of life and their culture in order to accept that piece of technology that they ultimately have to use in order to fight their colonial oppressor functionally.
I use the tools of my enemy to defeat them, as Luke and Rail,
Totally.
Which I think is just a classic trope in Star Wars, is and even like fighting the Empire and the Empire's technological encroachment on all nature, and Empire versus Jedi versus nature kind of thing. So this really vibes with that, and that like uncanny, unnatural feeling of a very metallic futuristic train in these the sand area, where like it's a lot of nomadic tribes living around, and towns that are built with stone. It definitely doesn't fit.
Right.
And using those tools to defeat them, I just love that.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit too about like, okay, so after the initial train attack, and like I think one of the major triggers for Boba to realize like, I got to do something about this is like there were children there, and he seems extra sensitive about children being hurt, obviously, because like his past of what we saw in the Geonosis arena and stuff. That was a good reminder in episode 1. But he ends up going to Tashi Station, which was a fun, like, okay, so he goes to Tashi Station. We see Fixer and Cammy there from basically the cut version, like some of the cut scenes from A New Hope. And this is really like, I don't know, you guys will know this because of the Last Jedi novelization. There's like a scene in the beginning of the Last Jedi novelization where like Luke is almost kind of imagining or dreaming of what if he never left Tatooine and he ended up just staying. He ended up with Cammy instead. You know what I'm saying? There's kind of like an alternate what if there of, hey, if he never left, this would have been his life, of like he would have been at Tashi Station maybe instead of Fixer when Boba Fett came in and just decided to wreck house, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it presents also, I think, this idea of this connection to all of the pieces of Star Wars that came before, and also just a little bit more of this world in its very slim scope of this spot at Tashi Station. But
everything's really close on Tatooine, I feel like. Everything's really just really close.
I think there's only 6 places on Tatooine. It's kind of the
Are
issue.
we ever going to see Anchorhead?
And they're all like on, one half of the planet. Like this other, it's like the dark side of the moon. Like nobody's over here.
Right.
Like Mos Espa, Mos Eisley, Tashi Station, they're all like here.
Right. That's totally so he goes to Tashi Station, he attacks the Kenton Striders, takes their swoop bikes, he goes back, and we get that great scene of Tamora Morrison doing the gif, right?
Like a bantha.
Yeah. I love that. He's trying to teach them how to do this, and he's taking it slow at first.
One thing, this is kind of a tangent, but just one thing I really appreciate about the show is that they let Boba Fett be funny.
Yes.
Tamora Morrison has great, like a particular kind of comedic chops, honestly. But it's like that kind of funny that's like, you've seen your grandpa doing something that's kind of like adorable, it's that kind of thing. It's like old man funny that he gets to be. And that's, and just his like relationship with animals throughout the series is so endearing. I like that, they introduce some much softer aspects of his personality, to kind of flesh out, again, combating the idea of him that we've had built up in our heads for 30 years before this.
Yeah.
Another reason we need Tamora back in Star Wars. I just love seeing him at the cons. I love seeing him on screen.
He's great.
I always think of the one meme of him, and he's like, the Polynesian spa. And he's like getting in a bathtub, and I feel like that was floating around a lot when the show was on, and I was like, that's how season 1 should end. Him at the Polynesian spa. Let's go. He needs just a nice
bath to bath.
Wasn't he like promoting the series?
He just needs a nice bath.
Wasn't that a video of like him promoting the series? Like him being like,
it might have been.
I don't remember. I forgot the context of the video. But yeah, I appreciate that. Like he clearly has a heart, and he clearly like gets to just be a guy at times. And like, I think Boba Fett deserves to just be a guy.
Yeah, and
living the life. He's living his life.
Yeah, he's awesome. Like it's just, I don't know. It's really cool to see him training the tribe and getting them ready, and we get that montage of training and improvement, and then we get the train heist, which is incredible. Great sequence, like you guys have been saying. The train droid in particular, I really love the train droid, the conductor droid.
I love that he just bails and scurries off into the desert.
Like a spider.
Like General Grievous. Then we also see the chief, the warrior queen of the Tusken Raiders. She just wrecks house throughout that train, which she's awesome. Her whole look is really, really cool too. She's got a great look. There's heavy casualties though, but when they destroy the train and stop it, the Pikes, which by the way, they keep that look from Solo consistent. Mm-hmm. They kind of redesigned the Pikes from animation, and you kind of had to, just based on the way that they look in animation. I don't know how you do that in live action, which you could just say that there's different Pikes. Like there's some Pikes look like what they do in animation, and some do in live action, but a little more catfish. When
I like it. I think it translates. I think it communicates the idea just as well. And like, if you're watching like the fall of Mandalore sequences in the Clone Wars, like with the Shadow Collective and everything, and watching those Pikes, it's a little different. But for me, like it's just one of those things that it had to be done to adapt. And I actually prefer probably the live action look in terms of what suits the rest of the universe. I think
I do too. So yeah, they end up kind of like kneeling before Boba, and we really see Boba like practicing that Diamo role right here of like, no, here's how things are going to be. If you pass through here, you're going to pay a toll. You're going to respect their land. And then they spill the water, and the Tuskens are all celebrating. And then later we see him becoming part of the tribe. And this is, to me, the best part of the episode is the vision quest, when like they present him with the lizard. And at first he's like, oh, thanks, lizard. And then it goes up his nose, and then he again, like that kind of funny Tamora Morrison comedic beat is like, I think I just swallowed this. Like he's like, I don't think I was supposed to do this. And then we get that incredible vision of the Sarlacc kind of in and out. We see Jango's death. We see Camino. I remember initially at first when I was watching this, I was like, oh, they're referencing like Tatooine used to be like an ocean planet. But I realize now I think it's really more about his home and it being Camino. And he makes it to that tree in the Vision Quest, and he breaks the branch off. It's kind of imagining it as the Sarlacc pit there a little bit too. And then when he comes back, the lizard leaves, he presents the branch, and then they dress him in the Tusken robes. And like this whole sequence, I think from here on out is just beautiful. Yeah. Like he's being accepted as part of the tribe. Obviously it's a little bit different. They don't put the full wrappings on him.
I don't think I think that those are a product of them originally being an aquatic species or semi-aquatic that now lives on a desert planet. I think that's so. I don't think he needs those. I think those are like a practical part of their garb instead of like anything of ritual significance.
For sure. And I really love him forging his own gaffy stick. Like I kind of wish that was an experience at Galaxy's Edge too. Of like, yeah, you can build your lightsaber or go build a gaffy stick.
I think the problem with that is you just have people walking around a theme park with spears. Then
teach their own. You know.
Yeah, the plastic is a little safer.
Yeah, I guess so.
In the broader sense than
yeah.
the spear.
But like, who doesn't want to like? They give you like LSD, and then you wander around the park, and you break off a branch somewhere,
do some wood carving.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what they turn the Star Cruiser into. You get on, they take you to Tatooine, and you drink a lot, and then you build a gaffy stick.
Yeah,
what could go wrong with a bunch of adults and sharp gaffy sticks?
We're giving you these ideas for free. Consider.
This podcast is a goldmine of them. We've also proposed for
the Star Cruiser
Star Cruiser experiment. You just do it in Narkina 5. You're all living in a prison cell. You're manufacturing parts of the Epcot ball, and Disney gets free labor out of it. You get the authentic Andor experience.
And then it turns into an escape room.
Jail.
Yeah,
that's too real,
right?
It's an escape room.
At the end,
jail for that idea.
Am I sick for wanting to try that?
Jail, Brad.
Because we totally would do it, right? If you escape from the Star Cruiser or Narkina 5 prison camp, you get to run through the camp chanting "One Way Out." Yeah. Like that's your that's like your prize.
Okay, we're gonna have to have a conversation here about this. We're gonna have to have an intervention about this one.
How long have you been on the Star Cruiser? 500 days.
Yeah.
Still haven't found my way out.
Like it would be a way to make the experience more affordable. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you want to talk about lived in true authentic Star Wars experience, I think that's the way to go.
I mean, we've said some cursed things on Friends of the Force, but I think being here is a really humbling experience to be like, wow, there are some podcasts out there who are saying even more cursed things, and we're in good company. We're in good company here.
I don't know. I think there's a sick part of me that would sign up for that. There's yes,
we're gonna have to have a conversation about that.
I know. I need to go to therapy. I know. It's
Sarah trying to rein in the three men here to be like, guys. The testosterone levels, bring them down. Bring them down, okay?
Okay, we'll settle on the trippy lizard vision branch thing experience.
A tough settle for you guys, clearly.
Yeah. We'll just settle on that then. Anyway, it's a beautiful moment.
To bring it back down to Earth or to Tatooine. It is I love that the Vision Quest thing does cap off kind of Boba Fett's literary rebirth. He's been through the trials and tribulations. He's now coming out the other side as a kind of new reborn character, with a new purpose and things like that. And I think that the Vision Quest thing, just, I mean, it's a classic trope for these kinds of, arcs. But I think it really does a good job of, and I love the ritual of kind of bringing him in and them doing like the haka together, almost like the Tusken haka at the end and all of that.
Mac, you said this so many times, is like one of our favorite things about The Mandalorian is that they kind of mysticize the Mandalorians a little bit, of like there's they kind of make it a little more mystic, like Jedi or Sith a little bit.
Yeah.
And they do that totally here with the Tuskens, of like there's something, oh, this is like really cool to see their culture that we've never seen before. And like what's really cool too when he's crafting the gaffy stick is like that's literally one of the paintings that oh my goodness. What original concept artist, what's his
Ralph
name?
McQuarrie.
Thank you. He did this whole scene, like the whole look of it too, like they recreated that right here. And then the dance at the end just kind of cap off the episode. Like it is his rebirth of like, this is the new Boba Fett. This is who we're seeing. And I think it's just absolutely incredible. But I do kind of want to, let's wrap up this episode talk by talking about the modern day story point here and like connecting it to, okay, how does this impact potentially the Mandalorian and Grogu? Because I think the biggest takeaway from the modern day storyline is like, okay, when we go back to the assassin, they're trying to figure out who sent the assassin. They think Mok Shaiaz did, who, number one, when they go to the mayor and we see the Ithorian, love it.
Yeah.
I love Ithorians.
I do too.
And I just love the way they sound.
Were you guys at Celebration 22?
We haven't been to Celebration.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Well, let's change that in
I know.
27.
We're going.
Great.
Yeah, you can't miss next year.
Looking forward to seeing you guys there. But in 22, there was like a cool Mandalorian Mandoverse exhibit. And it was like in the basement and you had to like reserve a time. And I remember, Brad, I don't know if you'll remember this, but in the corner, like the second corner, there was the mayor's seat. And then I think they took apart like the Ithorian prosthetic and like that piece and all the tech in it. And it was so cool to see the behind the scenes of this really intricate, like an intricately built and intricately crafted and controlled character, because there's like the anatomy of the Ithorian is like crazy. Oh, that's me in front of it for the viewers on YouTube. Sorry to the audio listener once again. I was really hyped about it because it was very very cool.
Sarah was like, "Yeah, Star Wars politics." Yeah,
that's true. That's wow. That's a good recollection of that. But it was so cool because that character is spectacular. The look of that character and then how they made him speak and you could see the movement, and then the translator I thought was really coolly done. Sorry to tangent again.
No.
That's what we do.
What we do. Obviously, with our last tangent that we just went on, but not only is the Ithorian cool, I think that whole set of his like space is really really cool looking too. Of everything about the mayor, honestly, I'm like, I kind of like. Maybe he should be the big bad. I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't, because like there's just a cool look about him. The way he sounds, the delivery of all that, I thought was just so great. But we end up learning that like, okay, Mok Shaiaz didn't actually bring the Night Wind, the Order of the Night Wind. It was actually the people that we start hearing outside. We start hearing drums and there's a big procession happening outside. Yeah. And it feels momentous whenever they go outside, everyone's stopping. And it's kind of like, I kind of get why Finnick was kind of saying like, maybe you should be carried around because like aura, like this is kind of cool for people, or not really. It's scary.
It's super imposing.
Yeah.
Being these huge beings being carried by like 16 smaller beings that
who
are
just
all
struggling. All the actors do a really good job carrying that. They look like they're really struggling. With 2 huts, we are introduced to the twins who are Jabba's cousins. And I think these are great characters. I didn't realize when I was watching this for the very first time, like how much I think I missed the Hutts of like, okay, like this is really cool. I really enjoy new Hutt characters. I love the little Furby thing that they use to wipe themselves off with.
Every Hutt needs some poor subjugated pet, and they have them.
I think I'm different than you, Alex. I could use less of Hutts. I don't need Rada the Hutt in this upcoming Mandalorian Grogu movie. I don't.
Yes, you do.
No,
you do.
I don't.
No,
yes, you do.
So I understand. I totally get. I don't want it a major aspect of the storyline. I do like seeing them, but there is a part of me that's worried. Like, is that the entire movie? You know what I mean? Like that does kind of like, is that really what it's all about? I don't think that it is. But I do like the Hutts. I don't know. There is something about them that I find enjoyable.
For me, it's like watching a modern crime show, and there's like all these little gangs that are trying to squabble for power and stuff, and then you realize, oh, like the mafia is still in town, and that's the Hutts for me. It's like they're the old underworld money. They're like, whatever's happening on Mos Eisley is not even really their concern because they have so much else going on, and so I like that. It just makes the Hutts in particular open up the world to me in that way. So I appreciate them from that angle.
Sure.
And they're like a solid villain, and they're easy to understand kind of their point of view. And I think that they're all categorized in this way, which makes the Hutts like an easy thing to drop into the universe if you want to kind of add this particular element to the story. And also if you want to say something about the world that the other characters are living in. So I think they're a good element to have. And I didn't realize that the twins were on the poster until you guys said it earlier in the intro of this episode. So I went and I Googled the poster and I was like, we're back. I'm glad I watched these episodes. Yeah. Because I do think that, especially considering that they are Jabba's cousins, that it does it both expands the world and keeps it actually brings intrigue to the Hutts themselves, because it's like, there's additional family dynamics that are complicated for them or that are interesting. And then it reminds me of who is our guy in the High Republic, Brad, that I really love?
Ooh, Churro the Hutt.
Churro the Hutt, and he just like wants to be a guy in the world, and like he doesn't want to join the crime family, and then like eventually his sister respects him. It's like really sweet. So maybe I am pro Hutt. I don't know.
We're really big fans of Nema the Hutt from the Aftermath book.
She's like ancient snake Hutt.
Oh,
she's wormier than everybody else.
Yeah, it's a deep pull. No, I feel like the Hutts are definitely just like a really easy entry point to just be like, bad guy. Because if you've seen Return of the Jedi,
crime.
I think like Jabba the Hutt is a pretty universally known character. So seeing a Hutt on screen, like immediately you're just like bad guy, bad person, because like, they're the mafia, like you said. I have a feeling in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, I feel like they're gonna be owning that fighting pit. I feel like they're the owners of that, so we may kind of see them a la the two announcers in the pod race, where they're kind of just like up in the stands announcing the fight begins, and they like bang.
What if they're back too, and they're calling the fight?
Listen, prequels, bring them back. They need jobs. They still need jobs,
exactly.
And I just want to hear the one guy be like, and in the left corner, Stinky the Hutt, now ripped.
Okay, so I think this also confirms, based on the conversation that Boba has with the twins, because when they come, they're like, hey, this is our territory. Here's a contract. This is actually deemed to us. We were letting Bib just kind of run things. We're not going to let you do it. Boba tells them to go back to Nal Hutta, and they do. So I assume then that means that Gladiator Pit is on Nal Hutta. We're going to see that. We're going to see the Hutt homeworld.
That would be cool.
I believe.
More Hutts for Sarah. Slugging around.
Listen,
Slugging around.
as much as the huts make me feel uncomfortable, it would be really cool to see Null Hut like a space that we haven't seen in live action, because if this pit is on Tatooine, like, I will fight, you know.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to Null Hut, and that's where the twins are. I think, again, so we've kind of speculated that the underworld has some sort of information that's really, really important that Jabba had. Jabba had some sort of kind of information. Maybe the twins have inherited it. Din's trying to go maybe the route through Rhoda of like, hey, your dad knew this. Do you have any info on this? And the Empire also wants that information. So I think it's one of those things of like, whatever the underworld has, that's the MacGuffin of the movie. And that's just part of the movie, maybe like the first act or first half of the movie. And then we'll kind of get into what the movie's actually about. Like, what is that information? And so I think that's what's going on here. We could be totally off, though.
It's so exciting to speculate.
It's
wow.
fun.
I just really had that moment of like, ooh, we're so back.
Yeah. And it's happening this year.
It's happening. I mean, like, not just this year, because, you know, the last Star Wars movies that we've largely gotten have all been December releases. It's like happening soon.
Yeah.
Front half
4
of the
months.
year.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Basically tomorrow.
Yeah. We're going to go to sleep and tomorrow it's out.
We're going to release like 10 podcast episodes, right? And then we're going to be like, oh, shit, we got to make time in our schedule for all of our Mandalorian and Grogu coverage, all of our thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, that's kind of what we've imagined could be going on. So we'll see. But then we're also introduced to Chrysanthemum in live action, which you've already established is one of your favorite characters. So Chrysanthemum, so like especially big in the comics, gladiator trained, worked for Jabba. Darth Vader at one point also fought Obi-Wan at one point, rival of Dr. Aphra. So he's really cool to see brought to life. And he looks great too.
There's something so human about his eyes.
Yeah. The eye performance is top notch.
Somebody's really smizing. Yeah.
I find his design to be so freaking cool.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely obsessed with him. I really have no good reason for this. I just find his design, his look in live action spectacularly done.
Yeah. That's enough.
And also
reason.
He's got super powerful thighs. And shout out to his super powerful thighs. Like, he doesn't skip leg day, and I respect that.
No.
Yeah.
Is it Jonas that's also a Chrysanthemum? Okay.
No, it is not. Oh man, I would have to look it up real quick. But it is a different actor who does a great job. I think he does.
Shout out
Terry Jones.
Carrie Jones. Thank you so much for being quick on the keys. That's great.
Yeah. So like we kind of established in the modern day storyline, the twins are going to be a big problem for Boba. Like he's kind of realizing like maybe it's not going to be as easy as just killing Bib Fortuna and saying I'm in charge of, like, there's going to be other people and other rivals who are going to cause some problems for him. And we'll see that play out throughout the series. But that's pretty much all that happens in the modern day storyline. Yeah. The real emphasis of this particular episode was that flashback and really like Boba learning to become a brand new person through his experience with the tribes of Tatooine. And so that kind of wraps up our coverage of the first 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. Any final thoughts, Sarah and Brad, about these 2 episodes before we head out of here?
I think for me, it's just bring Boba Fett back. I just feel like we're missing a real big opportunity to have, again, one of the most iconic, recognizable Star Wars characters just continue to be. Maybe it's just because, like, hey, we have too many Mando-faced characters, helmet characters, and they want Mando to be the front runner of the franchise. But I would really love to see Boba Fett and Fennec Shan come back in some form or fashion, because I think regardless of the series essentially turning into Mandalorian season 2.5, which some people will kind of make excuses for that. It happens. It does. And it is what it is. But I would love to see these 2 characters really get a focus somehow, some way. without kind of the distractions all around, and to really dive into who they are and how they relate to one another and why they work together as a duo. Because they're two great characters, and
Absolutely.
I just love seeing them on screen. And I had a lot of fun with episode 2 specifically.
Yeah,
It's like, again,
it's
one of my favorites of Star Wars TV.
Yeah, I think putting these 2 episodes together and watching them back to back is very refreshing and telling us who Boba really is at this point in his life, and where his heart is. And I really appreciated this very human look at him, and I appreciated that we got his mask off so much in this story and got to see him as a person a lot. And I appreciated that humanity was extended to the Tuskens as well, and the time that we spent with them. And they are like a people and a culture that I would love to continue to see across, I know they're kind of in the specific corner of Tatooine or across Tatooine, but the specific corner of the universe. But I think they are really interesting and dynamic. And I hope that if we don't see them, that we see other cultures and peoples explored with the same level of respect that we've gotten in these couple of episodes for them. And yeah, I would love to see a season 2 for this show. I hope that characters from this show, outside of the twins, which we already know at this point, return in Mandalorian and Grogu. That actually has got me thinking about things and like has me excited about it in a way that like I wasn't just pondering this before. And so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I think these 2 episodes were really great to revisit and get a fresh look at now in 2026, a million years after they originally aired.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Sarah and Brad, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you. We'll definitely want to have you guys back on sometime. It was a great time. Thank you so much again. Everybody check out Friends of the Force. One last time, you want to give everybody just a rundown of what you got going on?
Yeah, well, we have obviously ended the High Republic, so we're kind of figuring out what we're going to do for 2026, kind of mapping out some episodes, but definitely continuing book coverage in some form or fashion. I would say the top things we're most excited about this year are new Star Wars movie, and also the continuation of the Reign of the Empire trilogy.
Yeah,
with Rebecca Roanhorse's book this fall,
Yep.
which is very, like, if you're an Andor fan, could not recommend the first book, Mask of Fear, enough. So we'll be covering that in the fall as well. But yeah, stay tuned. We got some good stuff coming up this year. So
sweet.
Thanks for having us, though. This is a lot of fun to revisit some old Star Wars TV that isn't Andor.
Yeah,
for once.
Thanks so much for the invite back in the middle of the years. I'm so glad we made this happen. So it was really fun.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you all so much for listening. If you like what we do, give us a 5-star rating and review if you would, just wherever you're listening, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever. If you really like what we do and you want more of it, you can get all kinds of bonus content as well as access to a really cool Discord server by joining our Patreon, patreon.com/MandalorianWatch. But we'll be back again very soon as we continue the Book of Boba Fett in the Mandalorian rewatch. But until then, keep the watch.